QB Chase.
G'day, listeners. This episode is proudly brought to you by our major sponsor, Gym Journal. Please use the code MATTER, all capitals, at checkout, and you'll receive a discount on your next purchase. Please find the link in the description.
G'day, listeners, and welcome back to officially our first podcast in the new hub. Matter HQ has moved, and we are in our new location setup with a cool new banner. We are talking all things training, nutrition, and psychology to optimize your performance. Today, we are joined by another very special guest, Dr. Ash Dwyer, founder of Team BDN. How are we doing today, my dear? We are going to get to a bunch of stuff, no doubt. We're going to backtrack and find out a lot more. But how are you?
I'm good. I am good. I'm loving the time difference right now. Like, you're just waking up and you're so energetic and ready to go. I'm like 3 p.m.
One of us didn't just come back from a Mexican holiday, so I'm sure that's playing into it a little bit.
No, we're doing fine. I know. Actually, I looked at my calendar and I was like, "Oh, what do I have tomorrow?" I go, "A podcast with Ben."
Yeah, I was like, I saw you like yesterday. And I was like, "Oh, we need to reschedule this." I'm like, "Are we?" Like, I saw some stories. It must have been like your last day, and I was like, are we on tomorrow morning? Because I feel like we are, but also I don't want to interrupt your holiday. And you're like, no, we're good. And I was like, oh shit, okay, we're going.
Yep, we're good. Let's do it.
So how was it? Did you have a good time?
Yeah, honestly, it was a great time. It was equal, like, rest, fun, workout, movement. The group that we go with isn't like a super big party club, like staying up all late type of group. So we had one night that was like till midnight, and then the rest were like 10:30.
Crazy kids.
We're crazier during the day.
Yeah,
we got to get those recovery scores, you know?
Yeah. Molly's not going to be too happy with everyone partying until past midnight.
Yeah, no, not going to be great with Aura. Aura will be pissed off.
But anyway, we are here to talk nutrition. We are here to talk about lifestyle change, and we're probably here to talk a bit of shit, to be honest. Let's be real. But bit of background, we linked up in Reston, and we met and connected in Reston with a lot of the other guests that we have managed to have on the podcast thus far. And it seems that we had the luck of the luck of the draw when it came to America. We got lucky with we got lucky when we spoke to, well, we had as many people that we had in America, and we managed to link up with them. We've always had perceptions of Americans over here that, you guys didn't live up to, which is a good thing. So that was always, we were going over there being like, I wonder how many fights Ben's going to get into and problems he's going to cause and like arguments he's going to create. And then we got there and it was just, Cav is just really good at creating good people around him. And we just managed to benefit from that, because that was like, we got there and we was like chatting with everyone, and it was just honestly like we'd met people 5 years ago, and it was an instant connection of conversation and knowledge and info. So, that's kind of where we linked up, and we've been kind of in touch back and forth ever since, which is awesome.
Yeah, Reston was great. It was a great group of people. I mean, I'm sure a lot of Americans live up to the expectations you thought you were going to come into, but not the group in Reston. It was super fun. And yeah, now we're all like Instagram BFFs and send each other funny, what is it? Drop bear shit every time.
I was so disappointed when no one knew what that was. I was like, I'm going to fucking joke here. I'm thinking that every American knows this weird tourism joke, and apparently they have no idea. Turns out it was just an alcohol joke for us that we made about ourselves, and I thought it was like an international like knowledge. Nope. No, I made an idiot of myself.
Nope. Well, now I know. And what was the other one? Spider something?
Oh, that's a good one. What was that one I said?
It's like something that has to do with we're not wasting time, but it has to do with spiders.
We're not here to fuck spiders.
That's it.
Yeah. That's a classic. That is an absolute classic, that one. Not need to waste time by fucking spiders. Don't know where it came from, don't know how it connects to wasting time, but we're not here to fuck spiders. So that's this podcast, basically.
You guys got some crazy spiders in Australia, so it makes sense over there.
But yeah, it was I feel sorry for any Americans we meet next, because like the bar was set so high. We got there the first time, our plans with our mentor Cav, We're discussing about how we come over twice next year instead of once. And wants to spend more time with like the mentoring group, the mastermind group, getting amongst his athletes and stuff like that. And he's like, we need to have, you guys over here at least twice. And I'm like, shit, okay, yes, that's the plan. So,
Amazing.
unfortunately for other Americans after this is that, we set the bar so high when we met the first time that you got a lot of shoes to fill and hopefully it doesn't meet the previous expectations.
I mean, you guys are also setting the expectations for Australians coming over, so.
Oh, that's very true. Yeah, we'll have to curate where you guys go if you come over here ever, because there's the same expectations can be had coming back this way. So we'll have to make sure that's like pre-planned out.
Deal.
But give us a little bit of background now. We're going to get into some things, and no doubt, there's a lot of stuff that we're going to both get fiery on because that's what I like to do. Stirring the pot is always fun. I like to have the approach that I don't attack people. I just create the environment to think. So that usually comes with stirring the pot a bit and discussing, topics that we'll no doubt get into. But before we get into it, give us a bit more of a background of yourself, obviously, so that we can expand on it, because I know that you came from pharmacology, but I want everyone to know.
Yeah, so I studied pharmacy in school. I am actually a pharmacist by trade. I just don't practice anymore. I quit 3 years ago. So I've been an entrepreneur 3 years full time now, which is crazy to me. But all that kind of stemmed from back in pharmacy school. I actually started competing in like bodybuilding bikini competitions, which were so different in like 2012, by the way. I saw a
photo of you there. I was like, oh shit.
Yeah. So they were so different back then, but started there, loved the science of it and how you could like tweak diet and whatever to just the science of it. Realized they're not super duper healthy, but I love the nutrition and fitness around it. And I was like, I'm going to help my clients when I graduate, with this kind of stuff. And then you get into pharmacy and you're like, by the way, I worked retail. So like grocery stores, pharmacies, you don't get to do any of that. You don't get to help. You don't get to, it's just handing out pills all day, right? Like band-aids. And then I had my own kind of slew of health issues that put me more in a functional medicine umbrella. And I loved that so much. So then this is where coaching came from. I kind of just like went into preventative medicine and became a health coach and started a company. And 5 years later, here we are.
That's awesome. Excuse me. It's always a way where I'm starting to notice is that people see or recognize a gap, a problem, an issue, and they're like, rather than contribute to the problem, the real ones notice that there's an opportunity to solve it. And we monetize it. Sure, we're a company, we're businesses. It's what we do. We have to put food on the table and pay bills, but it's also in pursuit of helping people. I think that's a big difference in coaching that people don't really appreciate, is that there are people who coach to make money, and there are people that coach because they saw a lapse in the environment or society where, hey, this needs to be fixed. And you can continue to push pills 24/7, or you can start to work on the thing that prevents people needing pills. Now, people are always going to need medications. Like, we don't rip on medicine. We rip on the overuse of an overprescription of, in absence of lifestyle modification and changes, right? So to see that and go, I can be pissed off, and I can continue to plug the pills every single day and just get the same people, the same medicine without any change. Or we look at modifications, we look at the antecedents before the medication is required, and we make that intervention. And that's where you've gone and said, hey, I actually want to do this now, make that modification actually start to help people improve their life.
Yeah, definitely. Because I threw myself into like a hormonal freaking hell by doing too much, like my lifestyle, right? And that's what we need to change, is lifestyle and behavior. And it wasn't medications that even helped me. It was eating more and training differently. So that's kind of what I wanted to teach women, especially because we work with predominantly women, but women just want to crash diet and remove everything. And you can't do that. You can't do it, ladies. Stop it.
You really can't. So let's backtrack even further, because pharmacology is not a small field. Like, it's not an easy task. That's a medical degree. What made you get into, like, not only medicine, but pharmacology, where you're like, oh, this is how I'm going to help people?
Okay, so it's not like a glamorous story, but I'm going to tell you like the honesty of it. Here are my honest thoughts of like, I don't think anyone should be able to choose their future college degree at 18. Like, I don't think that's smart. Like, we don't even know who we are at 18, right?
Yep.
But when I was 18 choosing what to do in school, I was always like a math and science nerd, like love math and science, wanted to work in healthcare. And I don't love body fluids like blood and other people like we're
Yep.
not going to be a real doctor. So I was like, I don't want to go to medical
Yeah.
school. I don't want to graduate at like 31, right? Be in school until my 30s. So at the time, pharmacy was super in demand in America. And you could work nice hours, get a good paycheck, help people. You weren't on call. So I was like, I'm going to do that. And so I
Yep.
did. And like I set my mind to it and I did it. And then I was like, yeah, no, this is not, no. Like the corporate aspect of it totally killed healthcare.
Yeah. Yeah. So for those that don't really know, there is a very different, like a lot of our audience is Australian. Obviously, it's something that we're actually surprisingly a third of our audience is American, which is awesome. One of the things that's very different about America is the privatization of the pharmacy system, or the medical system. So the way pharmacy is privatized in America is quite different to how it is over here. There is a lot more of a, I would say, financial incentive for certain products to be used or medications to be sold or prescribed or given. Obviously, there's like the owners of the pharmacies that have more incentive to utilize certain companies or products, as to what I'm aware of. And it kind of leads to a lot different, I guess, feeling when you would be working, right? Like I remember coming from, I spent 5.5, 6 years in supplements. And I was a very similar premise. I went down the route of, I can, yeah, it's retail, but I can do this to help people that come through the door. They're already coming through on to change behavior. They want their protein, their pre-workout, their creatine. I can also help them with their nutrition, their training, make suggestions. They come back and get excited. It was awesome. That was so much fun. Until I got to the point where I got to management and it was like, all right, we need this many products off the shelf. We need this many products to be sold. This one isn't moving. Why isn't that moving? Well, because it's underdosed and full of shit. Yeah, but that's not your job to tell. Well, it is. And you get to that level, right, where you're like, there's actually no fulfillment in this. You're slugging products and slinging products that you don't believe in to people who don't need them for reasons that really just are financial gains. And that's, I would argue, a similar premise to how pharmacy goes in America.
Oh yeah. I mean, for us, it's all the KPIs and metrics of like, how many vaccines can we do? How many like prescriptions can we fill? What other clinical services can we offer? Like there's a thing called MTM, which is medication therapy management, and like blood sugar checks and whatever, like all of those clinical services we're adding on to the drugs. Like the prescriptions don't even make money anymore. It's the clinical services like vaccines and all that. So it's added work and they like took away your tech help. So you're grinding for 12 hours a day with no lunch break, just killing yourself for a company that's like, who are you? It's not cool.
Yeah, that's powerful. Like that's a, like, when it comes to health, the irony of that is not lost on me, but at the same time, like it's weird that companies, all of the research and any sort of corporate psychology, performance psychology is indicative that more efficient rest periods, more efficient time off actually leads to greater performance of staff, healthier staff, longevity of staff, less turnover of staff. But companies like that just churn you out, pump you out, and have you do this same shit, not really make an impact, which is probably why you spent 8 years going to medical schools and then go, all right, you're going to do this now. And you're like, well, actually, I got into this to try and help people and make a big difference. And I'm currently just feeding medically obese, overweight, low activity level clients with medications.
Yep. Basically, that was it.
Is there an interlink with the doctor, or I guess the GP, like the general practice level, where they're making lifestyle suggestions, or is it even at the doctorate level where they're kind of still pushing the medical pharmaceutical model?
So, I mean, it depends on the doctor. I do know doctors who really do try and push lifestyle changes, but the lifestyle changes they probably push are like eat more vegetables, try and walk like 30 minutes 3 times a week, like the standard recommendations that you would give to everybody. Unless you're a dietitian, you're doing meal plans right here. But the sad thing is patients aren't wanting that. They're wanting like, okay, well, even for blood pressure, right? It's like, okay, lay off the salt and here's a pill for this. It's not like, hey, maybe we try moving and we change your diet first and then we see where you are. There are doctors who do that, but they're not the norm.
Yeah, that's I mean, beyond concerning, but disappointing. Like,
yeah, the disappointing ones for me are like the ones where people have thyroid issues and they can't lose weight, and the doctor's like, eat 1,200 calories and remove all carbs, or like PCOS or diabetics. I'm like, no, absolutely not. Like,
let's tank your calories and we'll just give you more activity that you never stuck to, and that should work, right?
Yeah, that should make your thyroid work real well. Let's go.
And if it doesn't, here, take some peroxide, we'll see what happens.
Yep, exactly. Yep. Nailed it.
I mean, look, obviously, like the big thing that I find misunderstood is that there's never a dichotomy, right? Like people in fitness and health, people always like create a dichotomy. It's like medications or activity, or carbs or no carbs, or fitness or like bodybuilding hypertrophy. You have these weird connotations of everything is a dichotomy in this, like, there's these absolute camps, and it's like you have to fit in one or the other. But when it comes to health, like if you're in a genuine health predicament, the most logical application, especially when it comes to something that is like, acutely health based, we look at it from more of what's the word? We're looking at it from more of an inclusive model where we're trying to synergize, I guess, or work together with pharmacology, medication, health intervention with lifestyle modification, nutritional strategies, health strategies, do the things that over long term will ease off the drug. The drug is more of the immediate intervention to help you get to the position, but long term, we're looking at behavior change to modify the need of the drug. But for some reason, like we get these ideas from a lot of people that medication is the go-to, and if it's not medication, well then, like, I can't do anything because I don't have my meds. Or they just get thrown in with like 20 different tablets a day to try and solve these problems instead of looking at the root cause.
Well, I mean, yeah, and the 20 medications come from, okay, well, now I'm on this drug and I'm having this side effect, and I have to take this drug to cancel out this side effect, and you're like, Jesus, like, what are we doing here,
Especially the price tab of American pharmacology, like the privatization. I mean, you guys have insulin pens. I think it's like 200%. Actually, no, it's 1,000% greater than what we pay with a prescription here. And like, we don't have the most cost-effective, socialistic, I guess, healthcare. But I mean, if I have genuine type 1 diabetes, the script is going to cost me, I can't remember exactly what it is, like $30 a pen or something, like $30 a box or something like that.
No way.
And it's like, it's relatively decent. I mean, we got bodybuilders that can live on it for seasons, and it's a more cheaper, efficient way to increase anabolism than using like growth hormone or testosterone, because it's so cheap and effective. But at the same time, like if you go to America and you want 3 or 4 pens, you're basically getting a home loan just to make sure that you can get insulin as a type 1 diabetic.
No, you can't get the pens. You can definitely get the vials, and then you have to get the needles and all the things to do.
Oh, you guys don't even do the pens anymore.
Huh?
You guys don't even do pens.
We have pens, yes, but I'm saying like you can't get those over the counter and they're super cheap. But like if you walked into like a Walmart right now, they do have some insulin that's over the counter without a prescription, because I think it has to be weekly. But it's still like 50, I don't even know how much it is now being out of it, but it's not even a great insulin. It's like a, N version or like an NP version. Like it's not super great. It's sporadic when you take it. You have to use needles for it. And people don't know how to draw up from syringes, right? Like they don't know how to draw out of vials. So a lot more chaos. And if you overdose, you could die. If you underdose, it's not good.
And this is where I found my chat in Reston to be I was so surprised at how received it was. Like I knew it was, lack of better arrogance. I knew that it was good because I was like, this is the stuff that I know needs to be said. But even at the coaching education level, I was surprised by how many people received it in the sense of like, this is mind-blowing stuff. And I was like, we're going in to be like PT. I haven't even touched on like, nutrient cycling, or I haven't touched on like advanced hypertrophy, or, getting peak week strategies in place of like sodium, water, and carbohydrates. Like it was just simply straight up talking about this stuff to a diversity of people that, at the coaching level, it kind of needs to be known. Like it's just where you're going to be working with people, especially in America. That's where a lot of like obviously the audience was, but like it shocked me at how many Americans as coaches were so unaware of, or maybe not unaware of, but surprised by the fact that what was it? Less than 6% of Americans consume the recommended greens per day per week, and that less than a quarter of Americans actually reach their physical activity needs and their nutrient needs. Like that to me was like, well, these are where your clients are. This is where your money is. This is where your business is. We need to know this stuff and make these changes. It's very simple for us to do, but it was like mind blowing for them to see the data, I guess, in front of them and have the solutions just right there. And it's not drugs, and it's not just like bottom out calories and fucking do 100 hours of cardio a week.
Well, I think what you get here too, Reston, I'm not sure like the mix of all the people that were there, but obviously like, I don't know those statistics offhand, right? I don't know them off the top of my head, but obviously we know that like 70% of Americans are obese and overweight. Like that's a shit ton. That is way too many, right?
Yeah.
And so, we're not doing the right stuff. Like, people are nutrient deficient, all of that. And I think what happens in the coaching space is people hyperfixate on like specialized protocols that like will make them known and seen and like what they could be famous for. And it's really like, most people just need the freaking basics, man. Most people just need to walk more, you know, like you got to really take it down.
Yeah.
That's what I liked about you guys. Like you guys were really focusing on just like, listen, this is, the little stuff and like meeting people where they're at and then, whatever. And I was like, yes, we need more like relevant, not just spouting this like amazing one thing that's going to work or whatever.
And that was like the principal point. Like when Cav was like, what could you talk about for an hour? And I was like, I could talk about this for fucking 5 hours. I'm like, I could write a course on this tomorrow because it's so missed, but it's so needed. It's how basic all this stuff is, but like no one wants basic, right? Like our industry is polarized by sexuality, and those are like female sexuality and the way they dress, and like that. But more so, everything is polarized by sexuality in the sense that if you don't have this, this skill set allows me to do this, or this program gives me this result, or this nutrition gets me this result, and it's like these singular concepts that promise these huge changes and massive results, and people just end up getting fucked over. And the reality is, like you said, it just needs to be basic for basic. Like 99% of people in that room work with the average client. So basic is all the average person needs because they're not even doing the basics yet.
No, like even we do, like because of my pharmacology background, right? Like we do more specialized metabolic and hormonal interventions, but every client starts out with the basics first because they need to master those before we're even going to give like berberine or, whatever, if we want to do supplementation. So like contest prep is a whole other animal, what you guys do. I won't touch that ever. Ever.
You'd be surprised. I think you actually be, well, I mean, you experienced it, but the amount of females that
I had a terrible coach though. Let me be very honest. I had terrible prep. Like when salt wasn't even like, I wasn't even allowed to touch salt for weeks.
Oh no.
Yeah. That was 2012. That was 2012.
Oh yeah, that was a different time then. That was a different time.
And I came in real flat. Let's just say that.
Yeah, that'll do it. The amount of women that we've had and girls we've had that have come to us not even knowing their menstrual cycle, and not in the sense like I don't prescribe to the idea of like modifying your training program based on your menstrual phase, but more so like I just want to know the data and how you're expected to respond and what you're going to look like and feel like during those periods, so that if it happens to land around prep, like Brooklyn got a period on the first show but managed to pass on the second show, I still kept her period in play up until literally like the national show. So she was, in a health sense, that was a good sign for us. But also now we have to be cautious of where that landed in terms of peaking her and like fluid retention, food loading, things
water
like that.
retention, yeah.
But at the same time, that's what we just like, when tracking that data, we need to know that stuff in case it's expected to land. Do you have weight increase? Do you have weight drop? Do you have fluid increase, bloating? And the amount of women that come to me, they're just like, why am I like, what am I looking for here? Like, I'm like, what do you mean? Like, I shouldn't know your cycle better than you should. Like that's.
Oh, they don't know it at all. They don't know it.
And that's surprising.
Question on our check-in sheet, and they're like, I don't know what day I am. I'm like, what?
Yeah, like I just have a yes, no. I'm like menstrual cycle a menstrual phase this week. Yes, no. And it's like no, yes, no, no, I'm starting to get a trend. I'm like, do you see this line? Do you see how it's like, it's showing you yes, yes, no, like no, no, yes, like we've got a cycle here. They're like, oh, that's crazy.
Oh no.
I know. And I'm like, oh, ladies, like, what's been happening for like the last 20 years? What do you mean?
They don't teach anything, Ben. America's dumb.
That's, yeah. I mean, Australia's not exactly much better.
Really? I'm surprised by that, but I'm gonna have to go one day and check it out for myself.
The health realm, even at like the school, is it? What's it doing? There we go. The school level, I guess, of like health education is like, it's not like they're still putting condoms on bananas and being like health. And you're like, okay, cool.
I mean, what would you rather them put condoms on? Let's be real.
As a teacher pulls out like a big throbbing like
Not use bananas. Dildos now. Podcast is this now.
Oh shit. But no, let's move into like that's what we kind of sort of touched on there, and it's a very good, I guess, like segue into more about what you guys do. Like we could rip on the pharmacology industry, and we'll probably end up back there for sure.
Yeah.
But what is it like? Your approaches, your method, like when it comes to, as you said, like we've got this process to how we work with women, where there's certain ways you start the phase or you start them in the onboarding process. What is it that you recognize where you're like, I need to standardize this for like most women aren't doing these things? What were those things, I guess, and how did you approach it?
Yeah. So when every client, before they even start their day one, we have them do a 5-day log, right? To see what they're already like eating and drinking currently. And I will say nobody's getting enough protein ever. So that's always something, like no protein. A lot of people track incorrectly too. So we kind of have to take those with a grain of salt until we start working with them.
Yeah.
But they're still like not prioritizing protein. Like that's a major thing. That's not even like a thought for them. Fiber is another thing, like definitely not eating foods, no whole foods really in there. Everyone's dehydrated, literally.
Yeah.
Nobody drinks enough water. And then we have the people on the opposite side of the spectrum. We have the really type A women who are just burnt out adrenals because they're working out 7 days a week, like 5 or 6 days of CrossFit, can't have a rest day, really, really, really tracking like macros down to the T, but they're eating 1,300 calories. And, we have those type of clients as well that we work with. And so on one spectrum, we're like, do a little more. And on the other spectrum, we're like, please do way less. Like we get you way less. Yeah, but most of it comes down to, even like, I know you love this because you're currently doing your like psych stuff, but like it comes down to self-sabotage mindsets completely, fear of failing. So we have to really work on that like all or nothing mindset, that self-sabotage behavior, and then they start to like fall in line with their protocols a lot better.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that. I like that, especially when I find a lot of people, not just women, there's a huge fear in taking a step to commit to a goal, because it means that I believe in order to commit to a goal fully, firstly, you have to embrace and accept that it's your goal and it's what you want to do. But secondly, you also then have to risk not achieving it. In order to achieve it, you have to take the consequence of risk that you may not achieve it. You may have put something out into the world that will cause you to fail, and you have to accept or be comfortable with that failure. And so many people rather just sit in their chair, their couch, and mock and ridicule and be comfortable with average, or not even average, literally sub-average. And it's safer to say, I could have done that if I wanted to, or this got in the way, or I couldn't achieve this because of X. And the reality is, it was just easier for them to judge and sit and, I guess, chastise than to step up and try. And that leads to a lot of people, as you said, fearing failure, self-sabotaging. If they kind of talk down about the progress or the goal, or, oh, my coach was shit, so I didn't even try, there's always that excuse of out. And it's like, I can just cancel if I want to and not really try if I want to. It's not a big deal. It was someone else's fault. Instead of going, no matter what happens, this is all on me, whether my coach is shit or not, I can follow it to a T and know that it didn't work. That obviously is so uncommon.
Yeah. Self-accountability. As a coach, you're really like in character development for your clients too. It's crazy. Like we should be therapists.
Oh yeah.
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 Oh, I was just gonna say, yeah. So like you can't even start to make any type of progress until you've dealt with like those inner demons and like word, like self-talk that they go through. It's wild.
So what do you find like give me some examples of that, because I know I know how I do it. A little, my listeners and clients will obviously know how I kind of attack them with it. But for the general female who isn't trying to prep, who isn't trying to do, I guess more performance-based stuff, how do you go about it with them? How do you get them to that point? Because like I've found in some females that I've worked with where I've got to curate the right confrontation, and where I choose to challenge them. I can't challenge them all the time straight away, because it's like we're building this trust relationship. Like there's this man in my life now who's telling me what to do or how to do it. And there's like this point of time where it's like, let's just get the feet wet a little bit first and dip the toes in. I'll challenge you here and have you be a bit more accountable there. But I find if I go too ham straight away, there's a bit of drawback. So how do you go about it, like woman to woman, where you're like, this is what we need to do?
So, I mean, I'm going to be honest right now. I have like 9 or 10 clients that are hanging on and they've been with me forever. So I haven't gotten a new client in a long time, but like how my coaches also approach it is we're kind of like very friendly with our clients, and we also share our own like examples and struggles. So like they feel safe also kind of opening up and letting us know what's going on. We ask a ton of questions. Like, I'll be honest, I know some people do check-ins by like reading a client's feedback form and then sending like a 15-minute voice memo. And that's kind of like a check-in with the feedback. We don't do that. We do back and forth conversation through WhatsApp. So we kind of get to dig in a little deeper and what's going on. And we realize it's like a little thing. So we attack that. And then, we address it very slow. There are people who really appreciate the tough love. And like, I'm a tough love coach. So they know what they're going to get with me. And then we have other coaches who are like, a little more nurturing. And so they know that, they go there. But I think just by listening and validating feelings, you get a long way. And they feel safe kind of talking to you. And then we kind of like approach strategies from there. We see what they can do. And then they start to do small wins, lower the barrier of entry, kind of stuff. Yeah,
nice. And it's such a misunderstood approach to coaching. It's something that we're looking at. So, for those who haven't followed along, by the time this comes out, we've started releasing now lectures and mini courses that we'll be doing through the Matter Institute. And one of the things that I've looked at doing that I want to put out is kind of like soft skills of coaching, like PT, learning the PT course in Australia, doing a PT program. Even in America, I've seen like the PT model is quite absent of actual coaching skill, counseling skill, or relational communication. And one of the things I wanted to put out was literally this, like what you're describing here, is some course content on actually understanding how to read and coach people. Because like it's one thing to just sort of like, take the PT program and go, well, this is a squat. Like, cool. Greg and Karen don't want to listen to you just yelling at them. And also like, it's not because they're lazy or shit. It's because you haven't actually connected and communicated properly. The literature is quite clear in counseling that it doesn't matter the school that you adhere to. It doesn't matter the theory, protocol, or framework that you use. 99% of, sorry, no, I'm wrong. It was 82%. I just did my exam. 82% of all result was based off the relationship between client and counselor. So the same approach, like if we take the same, I guess, point to coaching and we take that same position, a large portion of your client result is going to be the relationship between you and the client. Now, whether they know they're coming to you as the hard ass, whether they know they're coming to you as a softly spoken, whether they know that they're coming to you and you're the, in between, it's the relationship that you build with them where they buy in and get emotional connection with you and trust that what you're going to say is going to work. And also where you create an environment they can trust you and open up, that you're going to get results. And a lot of the time we fall short of that and just perceive this idea that like my super carb cycling system is the reason why I get results on stage, or I get results in lifestyle, or whatever it is. And you're like, that's cool. You've probably marketed yourself to all the type A personalities, and that's fine. And they might adhere to that number tracking, just simply data adherence. But a lot of people, the result is going to vary based on the type of coaching experience or counseling experience that they receive. And so to have that approach, I commend, because it's something that's missed by a lot of people is understanding the environment that you're nurturing is actually going to be indicative of the result that the client gets.
Yeah. Which is why when people are like, oh, are you worried about like AI taking over the coaching business? I'm like, absolutely not. There's no emotionality with like chat GPT, right? Like you can get a meal plan and an exercise plan, but there is no accountability or relationship or any of that.
Exactly right. Like I've said this in podcasts before. If I actually think I said it at Reston, if you're scared of chat GPT and AI, you're already not doing the job anyway, and you're not actually coaching. You're just copy and pasting. So get out of my industry. Like I don't
You're
really
just
give a
giving
shit.
cookie cutter. Yeah.
Literally, because anyone can type in 5-day hypertrophy, focus on shoulders, and I want a high protein, nutrient dense meal plan, and chat GPT spits that out in 5 seconds. Yet I still have a job. You still have a job. There's still 100 coaches that we know that have jobs that have fully booked out client lists. Like it's such a, it's just not coaching. That's just straight up the fact is that it's not coaching. It's not at any level a coaching environment, and it's not going to replace you if you actually coach people.
The basics of it is like people know what to do. There's an excess of information on the internet, right? There's an excess of education, but implementation that they're missing. And so if they don't have anyone who's there to like help them make it fit their lifestyle or make it personalized to them, it's worth nothing.
Yep.
So
exactly. And what has been the biggest, I guess, some of the biggest takeaways you found with the women that you've worked with that are successfully, like the ones that have really succeeded, the ones that have actually taken away and nailed it, and like you're like, oh fuck yeah, we've got some awesome results here. I was like, I don't see you as the 12-week challenge type. I don't see you guys do that sort of thing. So there's obviously a graduation process where it's like you're good, like you've done your job, you've done what you need to, you've learned the lifestyle skills. But what is it you see like is the biggest transformation of these women where you're like, you are performing at the level you need to now?
Yeah. We generally like those type of clients are with us for like a year, like where we see the best transformations because we've kind of helped them through their hormonal issues, in which, you know, that takes forever. You can't speed up that kind of stuff. And then they've learned to really incorporate that balance. Like exercise is now second to them, like second nature. They don't skip it. They can put together healthy meals on their own. Like, for example, I have a client who has been with me 3.5 years, kind of on and off, but her goals have changed throughout the year. So the first one was like, she was hospitalized with crazy triglycerides and pancreatitis. And so she knew she needed to like change her diet. So we worked on that first. We had her lose weight, changed her diet. Blood work is great. Then she was getting ready for a wedding. She's also a PCOS client. And so she wanted to get off birth control. And her doctor was like, you will never have a normal cycle off of birth control because of your diagnosis. We're 27 months like this week without birth control, normal cycles. So like, doctor, you know, like just teaching her. See, this is Western medicine, but just teaching her like the lifestyle changes that were necessary for all those. She's like got it made now. So she can technically leave anytime she wants. She's ready. But now she's like, I think I want to like go through like building muscle and like a bulk now. I'm like, okay, you know, so yeah. So it's kind of one of those, she just keeps changing it and I'm here for it. You know, it sounds like me. That's what I do. Just like, okay, now I want to do this. So amazing results happen where I feel like they're really ready to graduate when they realize there's a gray area, kind of like what you were talking about at the beginning is like, there's no memories or macros. There's no like vacation or health. Like it's both, like you do both. That's where I feel like the mental aspect is there and you can master it. You're good.
Yeah. I especially for my Gen Pop clients, I try to abide by a very similar process. It's like once you're good, it's up to you when you leave. Like if you're changing goals, awesome. Like I'll be here to support you and do my best until it's a goal that I don't have connection with, or like, you know, I refer some of my women out there like want to get into powerlifting. My other podcast co-host that we do, he's a like nationally ranked powerlifting coach. And I'm like, I could get into powerlifting, or I just have a network of people where I'm like, this guy does this, go do that. I know how to get strong. I don't know how to get powerlifter strong for like peaking for a meet on a platform. So I'll give you the best in the country for that. And you can go there and I'll do my thing. And if you want to come back, you want to come back. And that's always been like the exciting part to me is like, I would say you're probably the same way where like, it's humble when you see someone, like you go through someone's client history, and like you've been here for this long and like you continue to get results and you change and you're like, you know, goals are redirected or lifestyle modifications. We've seen these improvements. Like you're choosing this part, like for this point of time in your life, you're choosing to stick with us. Like that's like one of the most humility, like humbling things that I've ever been through, where someone's like, for this period of time, I'm giving you this much money and I want you to like direct my life and help me out. And you're just like,
Yeah.
fuck, that's awesome.
It's so cool. I will never take it for granted because obviously I didn't have any of this in pharmacy, right? You have repeat customers, but like not for my choice.
Yeah.
Or unless they're going there because their insurance is covered there, you know? So it's a really, like you said, it's a really humbling and just such a grateful, like it's rewarding as hell. And that's why I'm doing what I'm doing now instead of.
Yeah, I love that. I love it. It's always good. Like you can tell when you see like passionate coaches that just love their field, the ones that come across like authentically and passionately that they've seen the problem that they want to solve and they're attacking it, versus like, oh, I can do all of this and I can do all of this and I can cover all these things and I'm going to be an expert of 41 different fields. You're like, man, it's hard enough to be an expert of like just women, let alone like these different levels of women.
Yeah, no. And it honestly, like you said, you refer out, like say we have a client who needs like crazy HRT, like we don't really do HRT either. So if you wanted that, like even with my pharmacology degree, it's not like I'm dispensing prescriptions and telling people what to do with that. Yeah, we refer out for that too. So it's more like we'll try the lifestyle changes and we'll do all that. And we work with, I didn't clarify this, but I'm sure you know, like the very general population clients.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I was actually going to touch on something that I've noticed is big over here. And I don't see it from you guys, but I'm curious what your thoughts will be, because I think it makes it makes a big difference whether or not there is like you get a result. But there's this big movement over here in the female coaching space, and it's like the empowerment group. And that's not the negative part. Don't take that or like misinterpret that. It's that the empowerment group doesn't really push results. It doesn't really help anyone get results. It doesn't really like, a lot of the marketing ends up being like, join the sisterhood and you're beautiful the way you are and we're great the way we are and nothing needs to change.
Movement.
It kind of leads that way. Like it's sold as coaching, but it's like not really, like you see the same maybe 3 or 4 girls that look great. And then from there, it's like the rest of I kind of just like, they're just kind of like they're falling into the trap of it and not really thinking that much needs to change. But when I see genuine, passionate female coaches, they're just like me, like, I will push the fuck out of my girls to train. They get no lesser programming than my guys. They get, whether you're a physique woman, whether you're a figure woman, or a bikini girl, or whether you just want to train as a female and get healthier and more jacked. I'm like, if I'm seeing the videos come through and it's like, oh, you had 4 more reps in that tank, like we're going harder. I want to see you, I want to see your crying face because that's what I want in your sets. That to me is like that. I give the same thing to my girls I do my guys. But then I see these like empowerment groups, I guess you'd call them. And it's completely opposite to when I see genuine, passionate female coaches that get results with their female groups, because you actually start to see the results. You actually see the women being pushed to be better, not just, oh, you're great the way you are. But I don't know if it's big over there. I don't know if it's over there. It exists, but over here, it's actually quite popular.
No, it's over here. We have our own issues and this can like segue into something else. But what I do see from there is like how you said in the beginning, there's dichotomies everywhere. And there seems to be this misunderstanding that you can't like love your body, but also want to improve it. Like, why can't we do both? Right. And it's like, no, I need to love myself the way I am. But if you're unhealthy and whatever, and you want to change, like you want more energy for your kids, like it doesn't even have to be a scale goal. Why can't we also improve ourselves? Like, if anything, I think becoming healthier is the greatest act of like self-love. Right. And stuff like that. But it's this whole acceptance movement and body positivity over here, and like the weight loss drugs are huge, the obesity as a disease is huge. I don't know if you saw my stories today, but Southwest, like one of the airlines we have here that's pretty big, is now going to be offering like a row free for people who are passengers of size. Like they can get a whole row for free by paying for 1 seat. Like they're the first airline to do this, and I'm like, oh,
oh my God.
Yeah, man, it's getting bad.
Like, man, like,
and it doesn't need to be from a body shaming thing. Cause I know there's also movements like healthy at every size, etc. I don't believe into the healthy at every size, cause I was the tiniest I had ever been. And I was super unhealthy on the inside. And then show me someone who's 30 to 40% body fat, and I guarantee you there's metabolic issues, insulin resistance. Sure. Your blood work is not healthy. I don't care about what you look like on the outside. Show me your blood work and then we'll talk, right?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, but like you said, that definitely ties into like a whole other conversation. But it's true though, like where it's this concept of acceptance without progression that blows my mind, and I am a huge anti-advocate of that. I guess would be the word. I mean,
I like the way you put that, acceptance without progression. I almost want to like write that down.
Oh man, it's something that I've like contemplated a lot. Is that when we talk about, because like one of my like a lot of my background and stuff is through acceptance commitment therapy, treatments for anxiety and depression, and like in the psycho realm, psychosocial realm, and it is a huge misunderstanding by people that acceptance strategies mean stagnation strategies. Like you can't progress, you can't move forward, or if everyone else has to accept me the way I am, like I don't need to be better, they should accept me. And it's like, well, to me, it's one of the lowest hanging levels of self-care, if not self-sabotage, to think that you can't be any better. Like the level of almost narcissism and egotism that exists, where you think, whether it be health, finances, business, career, education, training, lifestyle, family, whatever, if you think you're perfect the way you are and you can't be any better, I couldn't think of anything more narcissistic. Like to think that you've stopped developing and you've got to a point where you're perfect and nothing can be improved is a very narrow-minded field of view when it comes to life. And especially when you narrow that down to health, like it doesn't even mean like, hey, you got to drop 40 pounds. But if you're overweight and you're demanding that society, modify planes to give you free tickets because you're the larger one and everyone else has to pay full price for a standard one, but you're also not making any lifestyle modifications or attempting health, I'm sorry to burst that bubble, but we're not like, that's not no, that's not acceptance, where you're accepting stagnation. And that to me is like where I draw the line, where like you're in for a lack of, I guess, a more existential perspective, you are the sperm of the 4 trillion that like made it, and that's what you're doing. That means 3.9999 trillion other sperm didn't get through in the lives they could have lived, and you're living, and this is the conclusion that you've got to, is that that's how you want to be the one who actually thrived and got through. Like to me, it's like if when I look at progression, this is obviously taking a bit more of a more performance route conversation, but when I look at my existence and what I'm doing, it's like every other sperm that could have got through could have been a doctor, could have been the next Einstein, could have been the next, Stephen Hawking, could have been the next Usain Bolt, whatever. And I'm the one that got through. To think that I'm as good as I'm ever going to be is some of the most arrogant level of thinking that I could possibly perceive or come up with, especially when it comes to my health. Like that's just when you're showing those signs and those symptoms, and you're just like, you know what? And even if we do get to the changes, like we kind of alluded to at the start, and I know we're going to get here eventually, is that drugs like Ozempic turning to weight loss medications without any lifestyle modifications first, and then being like, oh, these don't work. My doctor's not giving me another script. Society hates overweight people. And hold on. There is so much to unpack here.
Yeah. I mean, that is also what is going on here. So it's really interesting. You have like an Ozempic overkill, like a semaglutide overkill, but then you have like airlines offering free seats for like passengers of size. And you're like, where are we going in this whole spectrum? Like I talk about it, and I made a post about Ozempic today. I talk about it all the time because I'm a pharmacist, so I can talk about it. But I used to be like, no, don't take this drug, blah, blah, blah. Here's why. And then I realized like people are going to do what people are going to do, right? They're going to do it. So now we've kind of switched to like, hey, I'll help you make the lifestyle changes and the behavioral modifications while you're on it, and or I'll help you get off of it, because I already know you're not actually going to take it lifelong like you're supposed to. So let me help you taper off and then correct and keep those results that you got, because scientifically you're going to gain it all back, or at least 2/3 of it. That's like in the trials. So it's the vanity weight that I have a problem with. Like if you are severely obese or have health complications and it works for you, amazing, it's great. But if you're just trying to lose like even up to 30 pounds, depending on your size already, your height and your build, if it's vanity weight, like we got work to do, sister. We don't need to be spending $100 a month on an injection. Like invest that into a
$500 a month there.
Yeah, somewhere, some places, yeah.
Oh, wow.
Med spas hand them out like chiclets, and it's like $300 to $500 a month, depending on where you go.
Holy shit.
Mhm.
So let's break down what is Ozempic in the sense of like, why is it working to suppress appetite? Why is it working to help weight loss? Because, you know, for the average person, listen, they're not pharmacologists, but it is definitely a craze. I've seen it. It's going nuts. There's been shortages worldwide. There's been like all these problems around getting a hold of it if you actually are suffering or need it. How is it working to help with weight loss?
Yeah, so it does a few things. So you have the appetite suppressant, right? It's a GLP-1 agonist.
Mhm.
So what it does a handful of things that help with weight loss. And it came out specifically for diabetes, right? So it's a
Mhm.
diabetic med. And then in the trials, they were like, oh, people are like losing significant amounts of weight. Like we should work on this, right?
Mhm.
So it increases insulin secretion. So it kind of helps with the insulin resistance there. So it helps you become a little more insulin sensitive. It increases insulin secretion. It decreases glucagon secretion, and then it turns off like the cravings and the reward systems in the brain. So where people would like it it's amazing. Like there's even studies coming out where it can help with like nicotine withdrawal, alcohol, like drug
Oh,
addicts
wow.
kind of heal because it turns off that pleasure reward like craving center.
Mhm.
So while it's suppressing your appetite, you know, us normal people, if you're eating it does really suppress your appetite. Like people eat like 500 calories a day, 900 calories a
Ooh.
day. We could put anyone on a calorie deficit like that and they lose weight, but the
Yeah,
problem
of
is they're
course.
going to be super hungry and they're going to want to and binge. The people on Ozempic don't get those bingey feelings because that's turned off, right? And then the other thing that it does is it delays gastric emptying. So the food that you do eat stays in your stomach longer, so you feel fuller longer.
Yeah.
But the issues we're seeing with that is like gastroparesis and gastrointestinal blocks and massive complication or constipation and issues there. So, you know, when you take any type of hormone drug, you're going to have issues that, I mean, there's possible pancreatic tumors and thyroid tumors. So anything else in your body that has a hormone link to it, we can have really bad side effects. But most of them are gastrointestinal. And that's how, I mean, that's how it works. So when you stop taking the medication, the cravings come back, the appetite comes back, right? So you may have improved insulin sensitivity now, but you're going to go eat a whole damn cake
Yeah. Yeah.
because you feel like it now, you know?
Yeah.
So that's where the weight gain comes back.
So in the use of this, like let's say like you've got some females who have it, do you find it's a more predominant female or male medication?
Oh, female for sure.
Okay. So in the use
I
of
don't
that,
know a lot of men on it, actually.
that's a good point. Neither do I. Actually, I've seen like bodybuilders take it because they're like, oh, like get me through back into my
Yeah,
car.
bodybuilders I know tried it, but not like maintenance men like
Yeah,
taking
of
it.
course, yeah.
Women.
So what are you looking for? Like when you're like if you're intervening, you've seen someone on this medication, you're like, look, we've got you, and you're using Ozempic, appetite's down, we're trying to resensitize, drop some body fat. What are the key changes that you're sort of making to get them away from it, or at least I would call it upskill their nutritional literacy? What are you doing there where you're like, let's get through this?
So where they're on it or while they're on it, the problem too, that's like a side effect is muscle loss because you're in such a calorie deficit that you're just losing from everywhere, right? So we make sure clients' proteins stay higher. And the problem is that some of them have like adverse hunger reactions, like they're what's the word? Food aversions. So they don't really want to eat the protein that much, but I'm like, you gotta. So we try and keep protein high and we keep strength training as much as we can for what they're eating, right? So we're still trying to get them lifting and eating protein to maintain muscle. And then as we have them drop their dose, we start getting them back to like a healthier deficit. Still making sure they're eating veggies and fiber, but not too much fiber if they're having gastro issues. So like every week we're like, how many times a day are you going to the bathroom? What type of stool is it based on the Bristol stool chart, right? Are we like in the 1s and 2s or are we like, you know, normal? So it really just depends on the client. But then when they get off of it, we can kind of see how they're responding to carbs better. We can add in some more pre and post workout nutrition and then just kind of get them One of the things that I worry about too, because after I did bodybuilding for a couple of years, I had like a eating disorder, like orthorexia, where I was obsessed with what I was eating, the timing I was eating. I thought if I ate fruit before, I was going to gain like 30 pounds overnight, right? Like obsessive. Did do something bad, I had to go do fasted cardio the next day. So what we're also seeing with people on semaglutide is they're afraid of food. They're afraid of eating once they get off the medication because they're going to gain the weight back. So they're like, I can't do these things. And it's like, yes, you can. So we have to, it almost makes you mentally, for lack of a better word, like more fucked, like to take the head. You become obsessive and you become fearful of food. And that's the relationship that we need to fix again with these clients. So
yeah, it's a very similar process. Like it's almost like a reverse diet out of a prep phase. For some of my girls, like it's the exact same process. Like the concern comes with reintroducing food because of the gain of body fat, but people struggle to realize that that absence of calories and nutrient diversity and nutrient intake during a prep is not healthy. You are leaner, but to stay there for a long period of time is actually net deficit in health consequences. And so we need to actually reintroduce food over time, make sure your systems are working again, make sure your hormones are working again, make sure your body is just prioritizing recovery. Because once that drug goes, like the way you've mapped it out, like I know I've done a bit of research on it and the way that it kind of works, and I just, it's not as accessible over here, I don't think. It's a very particular script and like doctors you'll get it from. So, I was like, is this something we need to worry about? The concern is going to be obviously as it comes back, if it goes, if you're scared to eat and you're scared to consume calories, you're scared to put in protein, and you're still training hard, you're still at the output, you're still at like that starvation level, there is going to be a consequence at some end where you either slingshot your binge phase and the body will just simply say, fuck you, you're going to eat and I'm going to make you eat everything. Or you just damage yourself so badly that you go into red syndrome, you go into like a low metabolic adaptation, your body is just absolutely cooked. The energy availability of the entire network is broken down. So no matter what, at what end, just because the weight's come off doesn't mean you're healthier until you start to reintroduce energy and quality food.
Correct. You'll have women like no period, losing hair, super tired, be like, I don't care because I don't want to gain the weight back. And I'm like, we can't stay here. We can't, you can't stay here. Like, no. Yeah, it's the mental conversations. It's the tough conversations that you have to have in order to like show the facts, show the data. But it's exactly reverse dieting out of competitions. Actually, my coach never reverse dieted me out of competitions, which is nuts. So I didn't do my first reverse diet until I was like 31, 32.
Ooh, yeah.
But for anyone listening, you're not screwed because now I'm eating more than I ever have in my life and I'm 35. And it's like almost a catch-22 because I'm like, can I go back to when I could eat 800 calories a day and be fine? And now I'm at like 2,500.
Yeah. Can I not have to eat so much food? It's actually getting tiring.
Yeah, it's expensive now in this economy.
It's expensive, yeah. Yeah, I guess when I was like trying to eat my food over there, I was like, I can buy shitty food really cheap, or I'm going to buy quality food, and that gets expensive. But yeah, it's such a fascinating world. I think coaching females, even at a general level, like, and this is the stuff that people don't understand at the extremes when we do body composition stuff, we do like performance coaching, is that at the polar opposites, the extremes, the averages are just exacerbated. So when we see like the average problem that a female has, the extremes at either end are just exacerbated that. So like, if you think you're, precarious about your nutrition to not gain back weight, it's really at the extreme of that when we coach females to stage. If you're worried about gaining back body fat, it's the same, but it's the extreme of that at the back end of stage. And so it's kind of like what you just described here is very similar processes, but less, I guess, extreme, but still in the process of like the same problems. Like the average female and I guess like one thing to take away from this chat is really as a woman is like your experiences, like when you're looking up to these women on stage being like, oh, this is, this person looks unreal, or I couldn't do that, or, these things are impossible, is really the same problems that you have, they have, and they've had and have gone through and will continue to go through, because it is a large problem of female comp preps or like extreme physique dieting. It's really a lot of the same struggles. It's just either they're really good covering up, or it's maybe even more extreme than you realize, because at the ends, when we look at averages and population data, it's more extreme. So like actually realizing that none of you are alone in this problem. Like when it comes to like we're on other sides of the world and we both describe very similar processes and problems that our females have faced. Obviously your sample size is a lot larger than mine because you exclusively work with women, but it's obviously a common enough pool where in Western-based countries we're going through these same problems or these same issues that will impact your decision making, your nutrition, your psyche. Like it seems to be pretty common.
Yep. 100%. I agree. It's just, I mean, even men have but we all have body dysmorphia and insecurities and, misinformation and things that we were told back in the day that aren't true. Yeah. I think it's just a people issue and like a wanting to look a certain way or be accepted type of issue. Right.
But I think like one thing I wanted to touch on was, and you kind of alluded to it previously in like a bit earlier in the chat, is there's nothing wrong with wanting to improve your appearance. Like there's nothing wrong with wanting to improve body composition, improve health markers, improve physical metrics. Like there is this movement coming through where this idea that self-development and self-progression or physical development and progression is somehow a negative or a shaming other people or it's this or that. Like the idea that improving your body composition or your appearance because it's a goal you have, to me, is that it's negative is somehow laughable. Like I can't conceive that the idea of me wanting to improve my physical composition and my health and my performance metrics is some sort of fascist anti-something rhetoric dribble that you see every terminology and like campus terminology get thrown out and you're like, what are you talking? That doesn't even make sense. But like to me, it's like
toxic masculinity, Ben.
Yeah, that's what exactly. It's so disgustingly trait toxic of me to just be like, I want to improve me. What is that challenging in you that you think it makes me a bad person, but you're willing to tell me that I shouldn't do it? But if I say, hey, you should be healthier, then I'm a bad person. But you can say, hey, don't change anything about yourself. That's disgusting.
Well, I mean, I'm glad that you're talking about this and you connect with other people who do this because there is such a shift of like acceptance at such a mediocre level now and entitlement that like, I think people still need to push. We need to push it. Like you have to say like, this is not okay. Like this is not acceptable. So there needs to be pushback, but like in a way where cancel culture doesn't rip you apart,
Yeah. And it's wild. It does. Like I sit here and I'm like, there's times where I've had conversations. I would say, fuck it, I don't care. But then also times where I say stuff and it's like, I do go to university and it's a very like left dominant university. It's a very like female left dominant university. And if the way in which and like my degree is predominantly female left leaning, like social sciences are like alt left female. Like it's easily like 80-20 in my classes without question. And so there is drawback. Like we have conversations like one of the subjects I just finished was counseling theory and practice. And our tutorials, our workshops were a lot of hands-on, like let's use this framework or this school of thought and have a counseling session. Like what's the difference between this one and this one? And the icebreakers that they use and the lecturer or professor will use is to try and like, here's a question from existentialism. Here's a question from modern wave psychology, blah, blah. And a lot of the ways I have to curate my answer was because I didn't know these people in this room. And my direct and blunt approach to things would not land well, like hearing the way they spoke and the things that they would consider struggles, like, 21-year-old kids with their all like idealistic beliefs and they're going to change the world. And, like, let's go back to the 60s and go to Wisconsin and go to, Woodstock, all that typical shit. And it's like the conversation they had coming through, and I'm like, I can't say to you guys what I want to say. Like, that's not going to land well at all.
You're going to get real offended.
Oh yeah, like there was at one point I talked about like my father passed away like 5 years ago, and it's like I include it in everything. I joke about it all the time. I make people uncomfortable with it. It's hilarious. Like for me, the ability to see someone's like butthole clench when I make a joke about my dad dying is I live for it. And I made these comments in the group, and the looks on their face as if like I couldn't say it, and I'm like, it's my dad. Like I'm more than capable of saying, oh, but you should have given us a trigger warning or something. I'm like, what? Like,
No.
like me talking about my experience does not require your trigger warning. This is a subject about counseling, and you're requiring a
Yeah.
trigger warning to hear my perspective. So I was like,
Yeah.
just hearing that, we do have to be careful, like how we talk about things, and not in the sense of like, oh, I don't want to upset people. I want to fucking upset people. I live for it, provided it's making people think. And that's the thing that I think people struggle with is like, they don't want to be challenged. They don't like being challenged because it makes them feel uncomfortable. It makes them feel unsafe. It makes them feel like
Right.
the way they've done things isn't right. But to some degree, yeah, you do have to take accountability with that. Like if you're, 40% obese, overweight, and you've got like all these blood markers that you're about to drop dead, yeah, there may be something that you need to do. If you're, if you've lost your period for how long, you're not getting any like actual healthy cholesterols, you're not getting any healthy fat markers in, you're not getting any dietary fats in, you're not eating enough protein, your calories are super low, or you claim they're super low, then you binge on the weekends. Yeah, we actually have to change some things. Like that's a straight up fact.
Yep. Nope. I totally agree. Like even so I told you, like I posted that Southwest thing on my story today, but I was like, I want to know everyone else's thoughts before I like share my own, right?
Yeah.
Before I dive in and then get canceled because
Yep.
I'm body shaming, which is not true at all. But what I often hear in that circle too, in the health realm is like, oh, it's genetics, or I've tried everything and it doesn't work. And I'm like, you haven't tried my coaching. Maybe you've tried a fad diet that's like meant to fail, but you haven't tried like real lifestyle interventions, probably.
Yeah.
I want to be 99% sure about that.
when I hear like I've tried everything, I'm like, that's weird because I'm part of everything and I haven't seen you in my system.
Yeah, I've never had you on my roster.
I've not heard of like, have you heard of this guy, this guy, this guy? No? Okay, so you haven't really tried everything. You've tried a week or two of this thing and didn't work and you didn't like it and you couldn't do it. Oh, crazy.
They've tried keto, they've tried intermittent fasting, they've tried, that.
Yeah. So, it's just, it gets important to have these conversations because male or female, a larger part of my cohort is male for sure. Like it's like we're a very performance driven organization, but at the same time, the females that I do get the same level. They get the same push, they get the same accountability, they get the same drive because to me, if we're going to sit and have the conversation about equality and like a equality of ability and equality of performance, then I expect no less of you than what I give them. And like I view you as an equal athlete, I view you as an equal person and client. You get the same effort, the same energy from me, so I expect the same back. I'm not going to take it like one of my girls. It was a really extreme example, but one of my girls was prepping for bikini, and she was like, "Oh, Ben, I think I kind of know your thoughts, but I got a period, it really hurts, and I know training's going to be tough this week. Should I take the week off?" And I was like, "Are you due for a deload?" And she's like, "No." And I'm like, would the girl who just won Bikini Olympia take this week off? And she's like, no, she wouldn't. I was like, so why are you? And I was like, and like, it clicked in her head. She's like, fuck, you're right. I was just going to be a pussy. And I was like, yeah, that sounds harsh to like coming from a male who doesn't experience it. I get that. And I'm like, I can't empathize with your pain. But at the same time, like I've had spinal disorders. I've had like chronic spinal diagnosis. I've had back pain. I've had car accidents. Like I've been through my pain where the doctor was like, don't do anything. And I was like, fuck you, I'm going to do it anyway. So to me, when I hear that, it's like, I'm going to push you the same way that I push my men because, well, the athlete in you wants to come out. You just need to be told it's okay. You've probably had coaches in the past that have been like, no, take the week off. It's fine. Imagine taking.
I would never give a woman a whole week off. I'd be like, if you have cramps today, maybe rest today, but like tomorrow we'll get back on it. Right. Like,
yeah, exactly right. Like to me, the idea of taking a week off every month is a quarter of your life wasted in performance. Like, why would you encourage that? That is what's going to make things unequal, and it like inequality, disparity will increase because you're taking a week of every month off from work. That's absolutely going to fucking suck. But when it comes to the way we approach women, it's like there's a standard expectation here that is you perform. Like you're coming to me because you want a result. You're coming to you because they want a result, and we're not going to. It's not so much buttering them up and like you're beautiful the way you are. You can be beautiful the way you are, but you can also be better.
Yeah, I agree.
Now we're going to finish up because we've just absolutely nailed home female health.
I know. I was like, how long have we been on here? I don't even know.
Like, we just go so quick. I'm like, fuck, I didn't realize the time. What is the biggest problem? So we've got a couple quick fire questions. What are one of the biggest problems that you see coaching females that you wish they all understood better?
That they all need to be lifting weight and focusing on growing muscle.
Mhm.
You're not going to get bulky. Like muscle is how you also like beat menopause later on, right? Like
Mhm.
please just gain some muscle.
Mhm.
I mean, it's the easy ones. It's like the common ones. Like protein is going to be another
Mhm.
thing with women. They're like afraid because they think it's like a bodybuilder thing only.
Yeah.
So eating protein.
Mhm.
And then another thing that I wish more women would embrace is creatine. Like I really
Oh,
do.
yeah. Yep. I mean, everyone should embrace it. I used to have people, I made a joke
Yeah.
about when we used to a training vlog. I was doing like a pre-workout sort of like breakdown. And I was like, creatine, it's the only legal white powder you can have on TV and say that you should snort it. You can't get in
I
trouble.
brought it to Mexico and I did.
Yes.
That was fun.
Yes, you should. Every single person should be on at least 5 to 10 grams of creatine per day, without question.
Yeah, I love it. Mm-hmm.
What is one book that you would recommend people read to take away and learn more about either female health, health conscious behavior, getting off pharmacology and medication, just intervening on general health lifestyle?
Ooh, okay. So books are like, I'm like, what books have I had? Like, I'm like, my bookcase is like right in front of me. I will say the Woman Code one about like women's health and cycles and all of that is
Mhm.
super fascinating from like a woman's perspective. So that's a
Mhm.
good one. And then I have a book called Unconventional Medicine, which is
Mm.
pretty cool. It's kind of like taking away the Western side.
Mhm.
It's pretty fun. So when I quit pharmacy, I read that one, but that's like a cool, I'm not going to let anyone read any books on pharmacology. Don't do that.
Go away from that. Right,
Actually, I can like drip it. I can drip it to you because I'm working on it. But next year, spring, hopefully 2024, I'm launching a pharmacology certification
oh, yes, please.
for
Okay.
coaches and trainers. Mhm.
Yes, yes, yes. I mean, for my guys, they need it for different reasons, but at the same time, like they still need to understand it. When I get some of the questions I get from guys, like, "Yeah, I'm doing this, and I'm like, please stop that immediately."
Well, okay. There's going to be levels, and PEDS is not going to be on the first level. No, I'm kidding.
Level 1, a gram a week of testosterone. Fuck.
Level 1, HRT, PEDS, weight loss meds. Yeah.
Subcutaneous versus intramuscular injections.
Yeah, no, it's gonna definitely, like we were talking about in the beginning, where you were saying like filling the gaps, like
Mhm.
this will help trainers and coaches learn meds that patients are on and what to do,
Good, yeah.
supplements and all of that.
Yeah, we did something similar. We created like this. So with the Matter HQ app, with Coach Catalyst, shout out. We did this system where basically I made like this Excel spreadsheet, and it was it was like recovery supplements, performance supplements, pre-workout supplements, whatever. And it was like each ingredient with the level of evidence, kind of like examine.com, the level of
Oh,
evidence
I
to
love
it,
that.
the science behind it, the mechanism of action, and the dose required. And it was basically like all of our clients can just go into the supplement resource and download that. So if I say we're doing creatine or doing fish oils, whatever, here's what you can have and why. Because I just got so many people like taking everything under the sun, and I'm like, hey, save some cash, just get XXX. And they're like, oh, but
Yeah, you don't
I've been
need to do all
taking
that.
these things. I'm like, yeah, but you don't need it. Like, you don't need to do that. So that's really good. I
That's
think
awesome.
that's going to definitely help coaches. I just think there needs to be more specific like educational substance out there. Like coaches do end up taking, for lack of better terms, they do take on a lot of roles and wear a lot of hats, just out of necessity. Like there's, we do get to that point where it's like we're recommending supplements, but or even health interventions or medications or what have you. But not a lot of people are versed in the actual research behind it or the evidence behind it. So I think that's definitely a cool niche upskill for people
Yeah,
to have.
yeah. I'm excited. It's a lot of work.
Oh yeah.
So, we're just slowly chipping away.
Yep. I remember we had our course planned to come out this year, and like our big like fundamentals of body composition. And then Cav's like, all right, you guys are focused on coming to America. And I'm like, shit, okay, I need to make sure this presentation works. And
Yeah.
obviously got over there, and then we came back, and there was all the blowback from that and all like the post-comp stuff. It was like, holy fuck, this year's gone already. I was like, getting out this course was so much more work than I thought. As soon as someone was like, oh, by the way, we're focusing on this, I was like, oh shit, courses are
Yeah.
hard.
They're
Education's
very
hard.
hard. Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree.
Um, Last question, or I was going to actually just ask you if you had anything coming out or of interest that we would like to know about, and you do. So
Oh,
we've just covered that, nailed it.
boom.
is there someone else that you recommend we should get on the podcast, and you have to help me contact them?
Yes. And actually she's sitting in my kitchen because she's on a call right now. Her apartment is getting like sealed out in front of it. So she's working from my house today.
Oh, nice.
This is someone I said you would love because you guys are kind of doing the same thing. Her name is Casey Jo Orvitas, Dr. Joe. She has her PhD in psychology.
Oh, nice.
She does mindset coaching. Like she has a certification called Health Mindset Certification for coaches. Like totally works on behavior change and mindset change. And that's her whole business and her certification.
I love it.
You guys probably chat for days on that.
Let's make that happen. I'm so thankful to actually hear someone has like a certification in psychology and they talk about mindset. The amount of people that are like, I'm a mindset coach, and I'm like, okay, what's your background? I had a rough childhood. Okay. What does that help with anyone?
Here. I took her certification and I'm actually taking her level 2 next spring when she runs that again. So
nice. That's awesome.
Highly recommend.
Yeah, that would be good fun. All right, we'll make that one happen. All right. That is it from us. We have absolutely smashed it and nailed it. How does everyone find you, and where do they find you? Any more information from you? Like shout out to your socials and whatnot. We'll link that below.
Find me. You want me to tell you, or you want me to put it in the show notes?
Yeah, tell me, and we'll link it below as well.
Both. You can find me on Instagram at dr.dwyer. So D as in dog, Dr.Dwyer on Instagram. I'm very responsive in the DMs. Hit me up, ask me questions. It's going to be me. So let me know. And then if you want to check out our coaching, it's teambdncoaching.com.
Awesome.
That's it.
Appreciate it. Thank you very much for jumping on after your post-holiday come down. Appreciate it.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
Made your first day back to work a bit more exciting.
It's been great.
All right, I appreciate you.